Uh, I can share with you all my recent journey to my recent trip to CTF. That's Central. It's in Soledad. Somehow the name just slipped me right now.
Central Training Facility.
Training, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Central Training Facility, I believe. Yeah. So CTF was the prison that I paroled from in 2020 August. It was at the peak of COVID, the pandemic. I I drove up there around 4 o'clock, and when I reached to Nancy's house, it was 12:30 midnight. I had a lot of time reflecting as I was driving. The first thing that popped up in my mind when I started out on this trip is like, okay, I have not been on a long trip like that by myself. I have been traveling that long trip, but I'm always with Edwin or one of our other team members. This perhaps is the first time I have driven by myself that far. And a lot of things come to mind. One of the things that constantly come up for me is where am I at? Where am I at in life? It's strange, but it's almost this question rarely come up until I find myself in situation where I cannot escape. Driving to Soledad is a situation where I'm just in the car. I can't just get out of the car. I'm there. I'm confined to the car, and I'm just left with my thought. And I ask myself, where am I at in life? And is this what I envision my life to be? Because now I'm going back to CTF, the place where I paroled from. And I realized that there is just an unsatisfying thirst that I have, a desire to do more, to desire to find purpose and meaning. I thought I had that at some point in prison, and when I come home, it those purpose and meaning change based on the condition that I'm in, and I just feel as if I get pulled into this, like, I envision, those little mouths that run around there. I don't know what that thing called, but you see them, they're running. It seems like they think they're going somewhere, but they're not going anywhere. They're just running in place. I feel like that. For a moment, I feel like I was just running in place. So I'm like, I will take this opportunity to really absorb all the benefit that this day long going to give me. I'm going to fully dedicate to this meditation, because I have been falling off so much in my meditation. As you can tell, with me having those type of thought, it's because I haven't been doing much reflection, and so this is just a moment of like a realization for me. So I tell myself to let go of the worry that I have. I have several dogs at home. I have dogs that are going to come, and I have tattoo client that I waiting on me, and I have a wife. I have a teenager, and then all this other thing that those are conditions that is always present in me. I feel, and so I'm gonna let all those things go for the moment and just free myself from this web. And I drove up to Nancy. I went to sleep. I woke up around 5 or 6, and I drove with D Hung. And again, I shared this a little bit about this with D Hung. D Hung asked me how your life been, because D Hung is one of the mentor. He's a Buddhist monk, but he was one of my pen pal. When I was in prison, I write to him and share about what I'm doing. I'm taking this course. I'm learning this. I'm learning that. I'm preparing for parole board, and he would tell me, you should rely on your practice, rely on your practice. How's your practice? And so I have similar conversation with Di Hong, and Di Hong, he was telling me that, yeah, all you guys come home, jump into getting married, and then just jump into getting like multiple job, and you guys all stressed out, yeah, you guys don't rely on the practice anymore. And I had to confirm that with him. I go, yeah, this unsatisfied thirst that we have, and it's like we got pulled back into that. So when we arrived at CTF, it's so first I saw Dora, I saw Natasha. Dora I have seen in person before. I saw Phil. These are volunteers that I sat with in CTF, meditate in the chapel together. And we are standing on the prison ground, going inside. And I was just overwhelmed with a mixture of joy and anxiety. I don't know how to describe it at all, but I was very aware that my body was bracing for something. And when we walked inside, I just, I remember very vividly. It just happened 2 days ago. But as we walk inside, there's a metal gate. And at CTF, you walk into the prison. It's not like you're going to go to the chapel, you have to go inside prison. There's a long corridor. So the men would walk back and forth on this corridor, going to education, going to a library, going to work. So you see people walk back and forth in this corridor. I walked that corridor so many times, and it just instantly hit me right when I walk in. And we just take 2 steps, and I ran into my old cellie. And he was just sitting on a bench. I think he was waiting to see his counselor or something. But I was happy for a moment, but then instantly I was sad. Like, it hit me, like, why are you still here? It don't make sense to me. I know the guy. When I know the guy, all mindsets were different. But I know the transformation I went through, and I'm able to experience the fruit of that. And I think that does something to me. But I'll go into that later, but that's what really hit me, like, why are you here? I was very happy to see him. We hugged each other, and I go, contact me, because you shouldn't be in here. We need to help you get out. Because he does not have life without. I don't know the particular circumstances of his case, but somehow in the back of my mind, I think everybody should go home. And they're capable of going home. Because I had life without possibility of parole. And I used to think, if anyone shouldn't be going home, it's me, because that's what the sentence told me. I'm supposed to die in prison. He have a life term. And I believe he have several denial from the parole board. So that's what troubling to me. He's not doing what he needed to do to come home. His value is not, his priority is not in line with his value. That's the first thought that popped up in my mind. And then as we walk down the corridor, we run into other individuals that I know. And every time I see someone that I know, that pop up in my mind. Like, why are you still here? Why are you still here? Of course, some of these individuals I have walked lap with, where they tell me about their hope, their dream. They want to get married. How old their parents getting older. Some have illness. Like, these is very intimate conversation. So I know these individuals more than I would say my own sibling, because I have spent so much time with them. And this is where blood and water is kind of, the only thing I share with my sibling is really blood. But these men I spent so much time with. So I know their heart. Again, I'm wondering why they're still there. And when we went into the chapel, we met more men. We actually have over 30 participants that day, which was wonderful. We were told normally there was 6 or 7 that come, so many people come, and it was a great day long, and we meditated a lot. I have not been meditating that long since I probably the retreat, the last year retreat that we had. And every person that I run to that I know and people I don't know, I just want them to know what this experience is like, to be on the other side of that wall, to wear different clothes than the one they wear. You know, when I watch these men wear their blue shirt and blue jeans is creased off, like these are they select particular blue that they have, they put under their bunk, and they put a mattress on it so that it can be crisp and neat. And we do that because we want to show up in the best light, right? With the condition we are in, which is essentially state blue clothing they're wearing. But I know that. And I noticed the shoe, I noticed the watch. These are things that they don't wear on a daily basis. It's only for special occasion. And I know how much that means to them, because I've been there. Although those shoes don't cost that much, and there's a limited size, limited color, shape that you can get. Same thing with the watch. I know that. I had a realization that I shared with Nancy later on that struck me. So we was in meditation, and there was a moment I was meditating, and I had my eye closed, and then I opened my eyes. And then I had a thought. What if I was an inmate and I just had a dream that I went home for 3 years? Because the setting is the same. It's the same chapel, same volunteer, people sitting in circle. I think I must be tired from driving, because at that moment, the energy that come with that thought was so true. It scared me. I sent the fear arise in me. It scared me, just the same fear that I have when I first walk into the cell and the door closed behind me. And I'm thinking, what happened if that door don't open again? Same energy, same real, there's a sense of realness that come with that. And of course, I opened my eye wider to see if that's true, and it's not. I am in street clothes, and I look around, I see these men, and what hit me next was very powerful. And then I realized that is what these men open their eye to. They're opening their eye to the reality that they are still incarcerated, that they don't know what their future is going to hold. On my drive back, again, I have a long trip, so I have a lot to think about. And for me, I'm grateful for these moments, because it's so easy to get caught up in life out here and forget that sense of deep compassion, where you kind of forget about your own self. I remember when I was in prison, when I first introduced to the practice of Buddhism, I was fascinated with the Buddhist philosophy. I took a course from Nalande Bodhi. It's a Tibetan corresponding courses, and in the Mahayana tradition and in the Tibetan tradition, they play large emphasis on this idea of bodhisattva, right? A being that I get prolong their own enlightenment in order to save other beings. They place themselves behind other beings. They, I wouldn't say they envision, but they actually cultivate to experience the same suffering that other beings are experiencing as if it's their own. And it's a very high and noble idea, I think. But there were times in my life where I felt that's impossible. You know, I remember when I was incarcerated, before we even hurt anybody, were able to go home. And this has just happened, I would say, in the early, if anything, about 5, 6 years from now, that we actually have lifer or people that serve extensive time coming home. And I remember when I came in, I have that sentence. Every time I heard someone that actually went home, I thought about myself. I didn't think about the joy that that person gonna have going home. You know, I didn't think about the relief that person have, that now he no longer have to deal with the culture and the environment it's toxic, it's detrimental to him. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the reunion where his mother would be happy to see him, or if he have children, or he have brother and sister, and that he have a more positive future ahead of him, or he have a future ahead of him. I didn't think about all that. I instantly think about, why not me? Why I'm not going home? Why is he going home? And I start making comparison between me and this individual. And then my discriminating mind just start working. And it stemmed from the self. It stemmed from this cherished self that I have. And so when I read about this concept of compassion and bodhicitta, this, all evasive compassion, where other well-being is placed before your, I couldn't grab that. It just beyond my comprehension. I don't think that is even possible. But I realized that I was suffering. One of the, I remember I read a book by, I think it's a very popular book. It's called The Path of the Bodhisattva. In Vietnamese, it's called Bồ Tát Hạnh. And it's written by, I think, a philosopher. He's also a monk in the 7th century named Santideva. And there's a verse in there that he say, all the suffering in the world stem from the idea of protecting the self, I think. I'm paraphrasing, I can be really off. But all the happiness of the world come from thinking of other. And I go, wow, that sounds really, that sounds great, but is that true? And in my life, when I look back at it, it's true for me. It's really true for me. There were times in my life where I really, where I feel most value and love, I'm talking about love for myself here, is that when I am kind and I'm compassionate to others. And those are the moments I'm not really thinking about myself. And it's very hard sometimes, sometimes you think, it's very hard for us to place ourselves in someone's shoe, right? Because we may experience suffering differently than they do. The idea of there's a meditation in Tibet they call Tong Lin, I think, and it's just this idea of exchanging self for other, meditating, contemplating, envisioning other people's suffering as something that we can take upon ourselves and actually feel it as if we are actually suffering. I think that's really hard to do. But again, I'm viewing that from a lens of a very selfish person, a person that feel like he don't have enough. If I don't have enough, how can I even have anything to give? Even the idea of compassion is not enough for me to give. It's too much for me to give. But I have, I have not always been selfish in this way. There are moments in my life where I actually look at other people and have this sense of empathetic joy for them, seeing their happiness and actually share that joy with them. And those were the moment I realized, wow, how boundless that is, right? Because when we think about joy and happiness for ourselves, it's so limited. Because that's our own interpretation of what that is. And sometimes it gets complicated too. We don't even know what brings us happiness and joy. But to be happy and joyful for other people, that's so easy. It really is. It really is it's easy to be happy for other people. And same is true, I think it's true it's easy to feel this deep compassion and suffering for other people. And that doesn't take anything away from who we are. I think if anything, it enhances who we are and it broadens our heart and it transforms us into, it breaks a lot of barrier for us. I think that's what is true for me. So these moments that I think what I experienced at that chapel and this walk that I went through, and I'm just describing this because it's the most recent experience I have, but I have been going back into prison, and to some degree, I felt this way all the time when I walk in there, when I see these men. And so as I walk out, I have this deep desire and aspiration. What can I do? Let's just drop everything I got going on and just focus on saving this man. That's not realistic either. I have a family that also need me. I have a different role to play. So there's this fascination between the self and the self and the other throughout my day. There's this need to take care of the self, and there is a release from this need to take care of the self by tending to other. That day I went home and I talked to my mom for 30 minutes the next day because I realized on the ride home that I haven't really sat down and talked to her. That's what prison does for me. Because when I was in prison, I tell myself when I come home, I'm going to take her to the shopping. I'm going to spend as much time I can with her. I neglected that. And there's so many other things that I tell myself I'm going to do because I was in that condition. And so I'm not sharing this here as if I found a solution. I'm sharing this here as if this is this constant thing that I contemplate on, that I learn to balance in my life. How do I find that meaning and purpose and still feel wholeness and still serve others, but at the same time tending to myself? And I don't know, for me, I think it's gonna be a continued process of, but every moment that I am able to, that I have the capacity to, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy talking to someone and say, "Oh yeah, I just this happened to me. Wow, congratulations!" Like I enjoy absorbing myself into that. The same is true when I talk to someone. They say, "I'm going through a lot of hardship right now," and I sit there and I hold that with them. I enjoy that as well. When I'm capable, when I have the capacity. So it's a practice for me. Uh, I don't know where I'm going with this. Like I said, I'm not prepared. I never prepare for my speech. Uh, but I really like that notion, that idea of us being a vessel, right? Uh, if we are at peace with ourselves, if we have joy and peace within ourselves, then we are the creator of our experiences. We will resonate positive energy, and those around us benefit from that. Because I remember there was a time where I was a very ugly and not happy person, and I did a lot of harm to the environment I was in and the people around me. So when I have this realization, it's not I'm not just saving me, I'm saving other people as well from the potential pain that I can inflict upon them because I was just so self-focused. And I think that's the beauty of the practice. When I sit and I meditate, a lot of it is focusing on itself. It's trying to overcome certain. I used to use meditation, breathing, mindful breathing, as a way to deal with what immediately happened at that moment that's overwhelming me, that most likely will cause me to react. And so it's always like a coping skill. But there were moments in meditation where I was able to generate compassion, where I was able to gain this insight where I can see other being and other people as an intrinsic part of myself, and that I can feel them and that I can care for them, and I can be free from my own boundary, this this self. And that's the to me that's the beauty of the practice. And I aim not to just practice to cope with whatever it is I have in my life. I like to practice and contemplate and think about the deeper question, the interconnection, this idea that we are one, that we are formless, and at the same time we are formed, just like um, Eva was talking about the Patna Paramita. I used to recite that every day in prison. I didn't know what that mean. My mom sent me, she sent me, it's in Vietnamese. They said, you recite it 21 times a day and you will go home. So I'm sitting there reciting 21 times until I memorize that in Vietnamese. And then it go up to 108 times. And then I recite it forward and I recite it backward. I recite that so much and I memorize that in Vietnamese and in English. But I didn't know what it mean until I started learning about Buddhism, until I started learning what each that in that 280 verse it encompasses all the Buddhist teaching in it, from the teaching of the elder all the way up to the Vajrayana teaching. Is all in there. But that's the I'm just grateful that I encountered this teaching and the people that practices along the way. And that's the other thing I think that's not often focused on is the Sangha aspect of the three Jews. It takes effort to build Sangha. And I think it takes a lot more effort than just an individual trying to build himself or trying to transform himself. We have to learn. My dad is home. That's what happened. That's how they greet him. Uh, but yeah, I think I can end it there. I think we can we can practice tongue for a 10 minute. We can try to do this. And what I remember, I haven't done it in a while, but the practice is that we can pay attention to our breath. And for him, before even let me try to lead you through this. So find a position that you are comfortable in. If you can hear me, and I would suggest you can have your eye fully closed or just slightly closed, and just begin to bring your awareness to this vast space that you are in. If you have your eye fully closed like I do, you probably feel there's this like spaciousness. And if you can settle your mind enough, I want you to envision a prison cell where it's dark, 8 by 12 foot cell, and they probably have a long, narrow window, and that's the only short of light that come in this cell. And envision a person sitting in that cell. Perhaps he is sitting on his bunk. He too is meditating. He's sitting in a posture that he's meditating. And if you can, imagine yourself to be this person with the same thought and feeling. This person is confined in a small space. He have very limited access, limited freedom. The clothes he's wearing is probably one or two set of clothes that he have. He don't have much. And he probably have desire that he want something more than that condition that he's in. If you can just imagine yourself to be that person for the moment and get as imaginative as you can. What would you be thinking? What would you be feeling? What would you be afraid of? Now, as you breathe, bring your awareness to your breath and take a long, deep inhalation. Imagine you taking all of that person's pain, suffering, dejection, fear into yourself. And if you are a large vessel, a pacifier of sorts, and as you breathe out, Imagine this breath relieves that person of all their fear, anger, anguish, pain, suffering. And let us continue to do this for the next couple minutes. If you find it challenging, it's okay. I find it helpful if you envision yourself to be that actual person sitting on that bunk. Every breath that he take in all the suffering, all the anguish, all the difficulty. And he breathe out relief, compassion, grace, all the good quality of mind. And now I would like to invite you to have another vision. If you have your eye fully closed, envision you yourself sitting where you are now. Before you close your eye, you probably have a visual image of what you look like, the space you're in, what you're sitting on. Envision. As you breathe in, you take all the challenge and difficulty, things that weigh you down. Strong emotion, problem that you can't solve. And you breathe out a relief, sense of acceptance, equanimity, grace, simple joy, Not that your problem go away, but just the idea that you are living. And appreciating what you have. And all the other good quality of mind. Envision yourself to experience that every time you let out that breath. Do you find that challenging? If you find it difficult to do, that's okay. Just simply breathe in and breathe out. And just notice how that in breath, what it does to your body. And notice the out breath, what that does to your body. And now I would invite you to imagine all being, large and small, not only those individuals in prison, but everyone that you can think of, people, animal, all being that are suffering, all being fear death. Perhaps that's where you can meet them. Envision them fearing, being in this state of fear. And breathe in, take that fear into you. And as you breathe out, release them of that fear. All sentient being. I'm going to end our meditation by reciting the four immeasurable. May all being have happiness and its causes. May all being be free from suffering and its causes. May all being never be departed from sorrowless bliss. May all being abide in equanimity, free from attachment, anger, and fear. Thank you. We have some time left, and I can just open the floor for reflection or a question if you have any question for me.